What is FPS in games and why is it so important? If you play anything on PC or console, you've probably heard someone say, "This game is running at low FPS, here it's locked at 60 FPS, or the FPS is dropping, that's why it's stuttering." But very often, no one stops to explain what this number really means and why it changes the feel of the game so much. That's exactly what we're going to unlock now, in gamer language, with no technical fluff. What is FPS in games, in practice? FPS comes from frames per second, meaning how many images the game shows on the screen each second. Think of the game as a bunch of photos passing very fast, one after another. When you stack many photos per second, movement looks fluid. With fewer, everything feels dragged. So when someone says the game is at 30 FPS, it means the screen shows 30 images per second. At 60, it shows 60 images, and so on. Why more frames make the game smoother? Now imagine two situations. In one, the character runs and the camera follows smoothly. In the other, he seems to jump from one position to another. In the first one, you have more frames per second, so the brain sees continuous motion. In the second, with fewer frames, movement becomes choppy. The higher the frame rate, within what your hardware can handle, the more natural the animation feels, the easier it is to follow what is happening, and the lower the chance of feeling that heavy game sensation. FPS, hardware and monitor, who does what? The number of frames doesn't come out of nowhere. The processor handles game logic, physics, AI, general calculations. The graphics card builds each image with textures, shadows, effects. The monitor displays these images at the speed its refresh rate allows. If the graphics card can generate 120 frames per second, but the monitor is 60 Hz, you will effectively only see up to 60 frame changes. That's why so many people talk about matching FPS with the display's refresh rate. How many FPS are considered good? There is no magic number for everyone, but we can get an idea. Around 30 frames per second is still playable, but less smooth. Near 60 is a level many people consider comfortable and fluid. Above that, like 90, 120 and more, the difference becomes very noticeable in fast and competitive games, especially for experienced players. More important than a perfect number is stability. A game that constantly fluctuates is much more annoying than one that stays stable at a slightly lower value. How FPS influences aim and reaction time. In online games, especially shooters, fighting or anything fast-paced, frame rate directly affects how you see what happens. With more frames, enemy movement becomes more continuous, it's easier to track trajectory and adjust aim. Also, because the screen updates more times per second, the gap between moving the mouse or pressing a button and seeing the result on screen tends to be smaller, improving response feel. When it's worth prioritizing FPS over graphics. Many people ask, is it better to play looking beautiful or playing smoother? It depends on the game style and what matters to you. In competitive games, lots of players prefer reducing shadows, effects and details to gain more frames and get a cleaner, faster experience. In calmer games, focused on story and exploration, sometimes it's better to keep a slightly lower frame rate and enjoy visuals at maximum quality. The point is, you choose the balance that makes sense for your way of playing. Summary to take into your next match. To summarize, FPS is the number of images your game shows per second, and this number directly affects smoothness, command response, and visual comfort. A higher and stable value makes everything smoother, helps with aiming, and reduces that stuttering feeling, especially in fast online matches. Now tell me, looking at the games you play today, do you think it's worth tweaking graphics to gain some extra frames or are you already happy with what you have?